It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of December 19th, 2003. Four films to look at today, but none bigger than the first movie we have here, the biggest new release of the weekend, the end of a 6-year journey for Peter Jackson to get this trilogy off the ground, culminates in this, the final installment of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and that is, of course, The Return of the King.
Time magazine calls The Return of the King the film event of the millennium. And winner of the New York Film Critics Circle Award for Best Picture of the Year. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, rated PG-13.
So, continuing the plot of the last movie, Frodo, Sam, and Gollum make their final way toward Mount Doom to destroy the One Ring, unaware of Gollum's true intentions, while Merry, Pippin, Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, and their allies join forces against Sauron and his legions from Mordor. And, considering that everything that they were building up to with the first two movies has culminated into this, unlike the Matrix trilogy, this is one where everything just comes into play in the final film and creates the end to a pretty damn good trilogy of movies that got better and better with each passing film. And this is the culmination of it all, a masterpiece of a film that just really... I really don't have much more to say about this one that hasn't already been said already. It's a towering achievement for what Peter Jackson was able to accomplish. I mean, it's a movie with great action sequences, great visual effects, great production value. The performances are great. The scale is grand and epic. The direction is top-notch. The writing is great. The score is terrific. The costume design is great. The weight of the storyline is very good. The scope, the scale, the story, just everything I mentioned before, just... not much more you can really add to it. For a film that's as long as this is and has as many endings as it does have, you feel like it's kind of earned, because at the time we thought this was indeed the last time we were going to see these characters again. We had no idea that Peter Jackson was going to eventually do the Hobbit movies after this, which I like those Hobbit movies enough, but they're nowhere near as good as what he did with the first time around with the Lord of the Rings, and they were well rewarded for this. I mean, this is one of the few films to ever win all of the nominations that it was nominated for at the Academy Awards. This won 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director Peter Jackson, which really is not surprising to do that, considering that it's it's tying with Ben-Hur and Titanic for the most Academy Award wins of all time. And again, it's hard not to see why. The effort that they put into this, the fact that New Line Cinema put their studio basically on the line for this to work. And it paid off in dividends, and then they sold off to Warner Brothers, which that still baffles me. Is that how do you lose all that money and you have to be debunked into Warner Brothers at that point 5 years after this comes out? It just does not make any sense. But at the time, it was considered a massive, massive success on their part, and yeah, there's really not much more I can add to this that hasn't already been said already with the other movies and what everybody else had said. It's a masterpiece, a classic film. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. It's about as good as you can get, and then some. So let's go ahead and get to the other movies that dared to combat The Lord of the Rings. And the biggest threat was Julia Roberts and Kirsten Dunst in Mona Lisa Smile.
You can conform, or, I know, be ourselves.
It was a time for building friendships, finding love, and discovering who you were meant to be.
You're the one who said I can do anything I wanted.
Julia Roberts.
Do you swear not to repeat what you see or smell tonight? No. Yes, no, hands up.
Mona Lisa Smile, rated PG-13.
So in the film, Julia Roberts stars as Catherine Ann Watson, who was accepted to the position teaching art history at the prestigious Wellesley College. Watson is a very modern woman, particularly for the 1950s, and has a passion not only for art but for her students. For the most part, the students all seem to be biding their time, waiting for the right man to marry. The students all are very bright, and Watson feels they are not reaching their potential. Although a strong bond is forced between teacher and student, Watson's views are incompatible with the dominant culture of the college. Okay, you know exactly what type of a movie this is. It's another Dead Poet Society. It's another Dangerous Minds. It's Yeah, it's pretty much what you think it is, and it's really not that great of a movie, despite all the talent that's in here. And there is a lot of talent in here. You know, like I said, Julia Roberts, Kirsten Dunst, Julia Stiles, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Dominic West, Jennifer Goodwin, Topher Grace, John Slattery, pre-Mad Men, of course, Marsha Gay Harden, Tori Amos, Evan Moss-Baccarat, pre-The Bear in this movie as well, Kristen Ritter. I mean, a strong cast overall here. A good director, too, Mike Newell, who also did Four Weddings and a Funeral, and then would follow us up with Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It's not a good script overall to really make it stand out or do anything unique and different to it. It's literally Dead Poet Society all over again. It's just really that type of a film. And yeah, you could put Julia Roberts in there as much as you want to, and even though she'll command the screen, doesn't mean the movie's going to be saved when it's all said and done, because the film really isn't really all that saved. Despite the talent they have in here, there's just not enough talent there in terms of the story and the characters in the development of the storyline to make it stand out or actually work on its own. It just didn't work, in my opinion. It was just a film that's just kind of like, yeah, sometimes the performances can be good and sometimes the direction can be good, but other than that, though, there's really no reason to watch this film, honestly. I mean, there's so much better options that you could see, specifically Lord of the Rings, but there's also another release that came out this weekend that you'd be better off seeing, and that is okay, maybe that's not what I'm thinking of here. I'm thinking of something else completely, but the next movie is notable for a couple of reasons, so let's go ahead and take a look at that film, and that is Helen Mirren and Julie Walters in Calendar Girls.
Fancy some chips. Oh, yeah.
In the quiet English town of Naples, the Women's Club always did its part for charity.
This year's fundraising calendar will feature homegrown vegetables.
Thank God. For a minute there, I thought it was going to be dull.
But this year, for Annie and Chris,
What is it? John's sick.
charity is closer to home.
I'd like to read something that Annie's husband, John, wrote. The flowers of Yorkshire are like the women of Yorkshire. The last stage of their growth is the most glorious.
And the only way to raise more money than ever before is to go further than anyone ever imagined.
We're planning a calendar for John. And proposing on it. And that's about it, really. Naked.
It's what John suggested.
I didn't hear him use the phrase, whip your bras off.
Now, they've got fears.
We don't do nudity.
We're not going to go round parading ourselves in a room full of men. This isn't France.
They've got issues.
My mom's being weird. Women go through a difficult age. How do you know? My dad told me.
And they've got to decide just how far they're willing to go.
They'll never go through with it.
You're looking at January.
February.
March.
April.
Inspired by the remarkable true story.
At first glance, it should look like a classic calendar, except the person is naked.
Touchstone Home Entertainment presents a group of ordinary women
I'm 55. I'm not going to get him out now. When am I?
who change the world 1 month at a time.
I want to raise money for John, and I'm prepared to take the clothes off for a calendar.
Helen Mirren, Julie Walters,
T-minus 2 hours. Bras off to avoid strap marks. We're going to need considerably bigger buns.
Calendar Girls.
Evidently, Christmas 2003 was the time when older actors got naked. I mean, we just talked about Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton last week in Something's Gotta Give, and now you have Helen Mirren and Julie Walters in Calendar Girls, and that's literally the plot of the movie, where you have a group of middle-aged Yorkshire women who produce a nude calendar to raise money for leukemia research under the auspices of the Women's Institute in April 1999, after the husband of one of the members dies from cancer. And it's comparable to the Full Monty, and it very much is similar to the Full Monty. And in fact, it's honestly a little bit more heartfelt than the Full Monty is. The Full Monty, I mean, that movie works on a number of different levels, but this one has more of the heart factor to it because of why the ladies are getting naked. here. It's because, to help raise awareness for leukemia and, these things, that these serious diseases, and they're doing it in this very funny way, and they go all in on it. I mean, yeah, it's a PG-13 movie, but it borders on an R rating at times here, and it's just like, wow, I can't believe they actually get away with some of the stuff that they're able to do here in this particular film, but it works. It's actually a lot more charming and a lot more uplifting than you would give it credit for, just from looking at the poster alone, where you see a older woman holding a calendar while wearing nothing on underneath her. It's just like, it's that weird type of thing where you expect a kind of gross out comedy in a way, and it doesn't really go that way. It's more heartfelt. It knows exactly how to tug at your heartstrings, and it also knows how to make you laugh without going to those extreme levels, and that's more than acceptable. I can definitely see the appeal of that with this. I mean, it is very much like the Full Monty in a way. Like, I think the Full Monty is a much better film, but this is definitely a film I would say is definitely worth it in the long run. It's a film that has enough there to say, you know what, that was more than worth it for me to say I'd recommend checking it out. So yeah, Calendar Girls, definitely check it out. Let's go ahead and move on to our last film, and that is Jennifer Connelly and Ben Kingsley in the drama House of Sand and Fog.
We can't do this, Lass. Please, let's just go.
This is your fault, Behrani. You have done this.
You are a complicated woman, aren't you?
I'm not. I'm just really good at complicating things.
I have taken us so far off our course, but now it is time to go to our destiny.
This is a story about the battle between a young woman, played by Jennifer Connelly, and an immigrant Iranian family over the ownership of a house in Northern California, which ultimately leads to the destruction of 5 lives. And the family is Ben Kingsley and Shure Abdashlu, and they all got, and her and Kingsley actually got nominated for Oscars for this, as did James Horner for Best Original Score. Overall, the movie is okay, I guess. I don't think it's really a terrific film in general. I think it's one where the performances do uplift it to the point where it is something that I would say is definitely worth watching. Other than that, though, it's a storyline we've seen kind of done to death so many times, and it doesn't really add anything new to it. The performances, I think, do carry the load over to make me say that, yeah, this should be something you should watch at least once. But if you're looking for something to watch on multiple occasions, this one probably won't do the trick for you. But looks fine for what it is, so not much more to say about that one. That's the House of Sand and Fog. And so with that said, we wrap this episode up about the movies, but the next time we meet, we'll wrap 2003 up with 5 movies to look at, including Steve Martin and Bonnie Hunt and the star-studded remake of Cheaper by the Dozen, Jude Law, Nicole Kidman, and Renee Zellweger in Cold Mountain, Ben Affleck's last film of 2003, which is Paycheck, which might turn out to be the best movie he starred in 2003 when you really think about it. But we also have a new version of Peter Pan, and also Charlize Theron in her Academy Award-winning performance in Monster. We'll take a look at those 5 films all on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I'm off. I will see you guys next time, but until then, as always, take care.